What I'm going to do here is just rotate into the knuckle. Now I'm in. Okay, so feel how I'm working the back of the shoulder. You feel that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what I'm after is, what I really mean is right here in the rotary cuff, right here. Because when I say shoulder, that's when it's like people start going scapula. So I'm just here. So that's where too I'll start to change my eye focus. If you notice, I'm very rarely doing this. When you're driving your cars, you're not watching your hands.
Yeah.
You're going to just wrap. Same thing with, So, but with texting, a lot of that's changing because people will do this and then all that disappears. So I'll start changing my focus. So it's almost like I'm looking the way the movement goes. I kind of look at it like line of sight. If I'm doing this, but I can do this very well. I can look at Frank though and still totally right now work your shoulder. If I change this, then I can go see right behind the pelvis. If I'm going into your mid back, like I could throw a movement just by a finger. So now that I'm in, now it looks like I haven't changed my finger position even with all the talking, but I'm going like this way and this way. So I'm rotating a little bit up, sideways, and down. Again, the one thing I could just think of is you do the leg presses. You do the you straight on with the foot. You go with the duck pigeon. I like to drop my heels back off the plate and do that kind of stuff, upper quad, But so people know that you're working on all those different muscles around the thigh, but they don't realize, again, the movement. See, look at that already. Push it just for fatiguing out. Just with that, I'll do like 4 different variations, but without stopping the reps. So see now how I'm hooking up more through the pinky, the wrist, and going all the way up to the shoulder. So it's pinging more. There we go. So now I'm getting the mid back a bit, around the shoulder. And out. So I guess to answer your questions, the fact that you're right-handed or left-handed, you just have more possibilities because you're not just hand dominant. Yeah. And that's probably makes you more super aware. Sort of like I was talking about that I like the karate so much because you have to, there's no weakness in the human body, technically. I mean, piano's another one, but a lot of, even instruments are hand dominant. So now I'm finally moving over to the other knuckle. And you can see right there's a little bit in the wrist. So I'm dropping it up and down a little bit. But it's not that I'm looking to push in, I'm looking for that counter. But also when the counter goes, so does the wrist. So if you notice up until now, most people, if you give pressure, you're sort of going to get that left-right. But the way I'm trying to give pressure, see how the ulna and the radius comes in, right? Versus the windshield wiper. See, I'm not doing this. But there's a jam, which I'm going to right in here. Jam, when I say jam, it's sort of like a traffic jam. Whatever reasons, the conversation of movement is just not as clear right there. That's it. See, now how I'm getting more of that, the sway of that wrist going through. Now when I do this, see how it changes? Look at how I'm going pelvis, whoop, up the back to shoulder. See how now that movement is going up and down your back versus this. Right, see, up and down. So again, it counters. Again, notice I go here to here. So that's why I also think of a whole nother subject. You know how the human eye, that I see you straight on, but then the brain flips it? I think it does that with all movements. And that's why the counterbalance is so important in infants, because it neural maps all that. That's why if your right brain goes, it affects your left side of your body and vice versa. So all of these movements automatically counter. So more and more I try and say we really don't even balance, we counterbalance because we're constantly juggling something, even with their breath. So now I'm going to switch over. So switching over meaning I'm going to bring this finger back down to the pinky area, but now level is going to be through my left. Now with this movement, it's a little bit different because it's almost like I'm writing on the inside of your scapula. That's where the movement to me feels like it's going right there. It's like inside that shoulder blade there. So see here, it's much more shoulder based. And here it's much more in the scapula. You feel it?
Oh, yeah.
But if I moved a little bit, then I could still direct it down to the pelvis. But right there. But I am pulling a little bit through the pinky to give the tension. There we go. But see how tight now the rotation I can get through the wrist versus here. See how this is a wide rotation and this is a tight one. See how it's twisting right between the two? There we go. See? Crunch. That's for the ball, but still. You can see, even though the ball is making noise, I still just made friction changes of your movement and it's hitting the ball. Or sometimes what I'll get is I'll even adjust. Like all of a sudden my hand will crack because I know the movement's coming through. I've actually had a spinal adjustment working on someone like this, and all of a sudden I go, well, if the movement's going all the way around, it's the weakest link. So, but notice how I, quote, haven't worked on the wrist, but the difference, see the...
Free.